Maximum News, Sybe, you know something big happened when the top story today isn't the lack of Silent Hill news at Tokyo Game Show.
Nor the rampage that you went on. I read about it in the papers.
No, don't
sorry.
Zip it. Zip the. No, we don't. No, we. Dude, there are going to be people listening to this. We weren't. Okay. Sorry to Tony down the street. So, how do I begin?
All those poor gophers.
How do I begin this segment, man? Well, okay. So let's just think for a second about some of our most anticipated games, right? For me, it's Hogwarts Legacy, Starfield. I know you're looking forward to those games in particular, but that's just us. Beyond us, I wanted to sort of ask you, Sybe, like I'm sort of asking myself, what is the most anticipated game that isn't called Half-Life 3 and that we know is actually in active development? When you consider the number of people and like the biggest franchises out there, like what game is the biggest amount of people looking forward to?
I see where you're going. I think it's Ghostbuster Call of Booty. It's that. I mean, I know it's not an official license, but I mean everybody's looking forward to it.
Is that an actual thing? I've never heard of that.
No, I made that up off the top of my head.
Call of Booty. It probably is something in like the deep dark recesses of 4chan or something. No, but
especially
seriously,
the Ghostbusters part. But no, seriously, yeah, it's obviously everybody knows that whether you play it or not, GTA is huge. I dislike it because of the general premise of the game. Like it's just one of those things where it's like I never really clicked with it. Park. But I mean, it's popular, right? Like it's hugely popular, and I can't like I just dislike the premise in general. You know, I mean, I don't hate it. I just dislike.
It's just not for you, you know.
Yeah.
Like you like.
It's just like strategy, like thinking, like open. Like I still like a lot of open world stuff, but I like my open world stuff to be a little bit more colorful, a little bit more
unique personality,
fun.
Less realism. Yeah, I got that. Yeah,
a little less realism. It's because you can obviously like take it way too seriously. But I do think that the roleplay servers that they have for GTA are absolutely hilarious and amazing. Yeah. And those communities are fantastic. they really push that in a new direction. And I think that's cool. I think that's great. That I'm far more interested in than the game that they put out, like from a narrative, like story perspective. It's never really like clicked with me. It's like every time they rob a bank, I'm like, all those poor people that are going to get in big trouble with the bank because, you know, it's going to take its issues out on their customers. It's like, oh, that's terrible.
All those,
and I know it's not real, but still,
yeah, all those non-sentient NPCs are gonna have their business run out of money. Yeah,
every time I see the main player, you know, hijack a car, I always think to myself, I'm like, that poor guy was trying to go somewhere. He was trying to get to his kid's football game. He hasn't seen his kid in 3 weeks because of his working schedule, and he's going to make it to the baseball game or football game or whatever. And the kid's just going to be sitting there going, "Dad never showed up."
Hey, low key, he's not even kidding. Like one time I was playing GTA while he was watching on stream on Discord. I backed over a prostitute, literal tears. He was broken up about it for 24 hours. But anyways, GTA 5, obviously a huge game, one of the biggest games, best-selling games in history. And because of that, naturally people want to know what the heck is going on with GTA 6. It's been a long time coming, mostly because GTA 5 has just been so popular and so lucrative. With the shark cards and all that, we all know about that. I estimated that sort of like Elder Scrolls 6, I wasn't expecting to see anything regarding this game until about 2024 at the earliest, right? Well, wouldn't you guess? I woke up this morning, I look on Twitter, and a guy that I follow who is actually reputable for leaking certain other games, which we might or may not be talking about later on in this podcast, he pointed out that GTA 6 got leaked. Apparently, it was leaked by somebody named TopoTuber Hacker. I don't know who that is. I don't know if it's like a disgruntled Rockstar employee or just a random hacker that somehow managed to breach the system. But he got a hold of 90 clips. Most of them, I've seen these clips. I was able to see all of them before they got taken down. Most of them, I'd say around a quarter of them actually have stuff that's worthwhile talking about. The vast majority of the other stuff is just like the main player character inside a creator's test arena, where it's all code and stuff like that. It's not actually textured stuff. But the other stuff, I think is worthwhile talking about. And then there's one thing that I'm going to leave towards the end, which sort of gives a greater appreciation of the scale of these leaks and how it's going to affect the development of GTA 6 later on. But let's just talk about sort of the quote-unquote fun stuff, even though this isn't fun for the developers. You know what I mean. So,
yeah.
One thing that... And by the way, before I go into this, Syb doesn't really know much about all this. He tried to look it up before it got taken down. So he's going to be reacting to a lot of the stuff that I made notes of in real time. So, number one thing that we've all been wondering about is, where is GTA 6 going to take place? We've heard rumblings that, ever since like GTA 6 became a prospect in people's minds, that it was going to be in Vice City. But then, we heard some toss-up like, oh, it might be in Carcer City, the location of the first Manhunt game. Some people were saying that it might be in Chicago. There might be a return to Liberty City. Well, it's pretty much confirmed. There might be more than one city, but it is confirmed that at least one of the cities is going to be Vice City. Like, the clips that actually show the game world, palm trees everywhere. You look on the back of the police cars and it says VCPD. It's Vice City, right? There are two protagonists. The report that we heard about the story sort of following a Bonnie and Clyde archetypal story seemed to be true. I think they might be brother and sister, although don't quote me on that. What else? Yeah, a lot of the stuff that showed the world of GTA, the characters, a lot of it didn't look good. But that's not something that I fault the developers for. It was very clearly pre-alpha, like really, really old footage. I think I saw in one clip that they were using like a PS4 test build. Right. So that's relatively old. Most of it didn't have any applied textures. The video that I saw, most of it, if not all of it, was rendered in what looked like 720p, so not that great. It wasn't 1080p, it wasn't 4K. Poor level of detail if you tried to look off into the distance. But there were points where some of the stuff actually looked pretty good. I would say that the facial models for the main characters, also some of the weather effects. Think about some of the weather effects that we got in Red Dead Redemption 2, but improved. And imagine sort of like a Miami-type climate where there's some haze and fog and stuff like that. It looked really good. But aside from that, not really a whole lot of stuff to write home about. Let's see, what else? It appears that, sort of like how The Last of Us 2 made going prone a really big feature, it seems like GTA 6 is poised to make that a big deal, because you can go prone. And then what else? This one's really interesting. So Cars, Cars for obvious reasons, it's called Grand Theft Auto, or a big staple of the series. It seems like the newest thing that they're going to be adding in regards to the wonderment of Cars is that you can go inside and you can actually adjust and move everything inside the car's interior. I saw a clip where you could adjust the rear view mirror, the brake pedal and the gas pedal. They were going up and down. There's like an interior dashboard. It looked really, really cool. And I say that as somebody who doesn't give a crap about cars. And then, let's see, finally, we saw...
That's going to be so funny when, like, somebody hijacks a car on the side of the road, and then they just spend a few minutes adjusting
the mirror.
All the guys, what are you doing? Why are you taking my car? And then, like, it's like, yeah, it's very funny, very funny.
Well, I mean, you could just shoot them and then, see how long you can wait before the cops show up. That's what I would do. And then finally, there was a little bit of a footage of a mission. It appeared, and spoiler alert if you don't want to hear this, but I'm assuming if you're listening to this right now, you don't care. There was a bit of a mission where it seemed like the two main protagonists were robbing what looked to be a waffle shop, and the name of the waffle shop was Hank's Waffles. That's about it. Now, Saib, there is one other thing that I want to get to, which I think will generate the most discussion. But first, I just want to get your reaction to anything that I just said. Like, does any of this surprise you? Does any of this excite you? Like, what's your take?
Not really. I mean, this is all stuff, and this is why it's like it's one of these weird things where it's like everybody knows that this is what was basically going to come out, right? Like nobody's sitting here going, "Oh wow, you could steal from a restaurant? That is so groundbreaking." You know, nobody was like that, and nobody's like, you know, like, oh wow, they had higher car customization. It is one of those things where it's like, at least you know that they're working on some of this stuff. Whereas, like, we have seen games come out where it's like, hey, this is the 8th iteration of the game, and the difference between this game and your last game is basically just like, you know, 10% more graphic fidelity.
Yeah,
and for some communities, that's all they want. Right? Like that is games. Legitimately all they want. For other people, you know, it's like, yeah, they take this stuff seriously.
Yeah, they do. So the cat echoes your sentiments.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like, yeah, the car thing is cool. But yeah, aside from that, it's like everything else that we saw, it's pretty much everything that we would sort of expect from GTA 6, even from a company like Rockstar, where, you know, somebody who has loved Rockstar's games all the way up until now, I'm a little bit worried about the state where things are, given like the cancellation of what I think it was an RDR1 remaster, the sorry state of the quote unquote definitive edition of the GTA trilogy, the original. But what we saw, you know, even though it is pre-alpha, it is encouraging. It is being worked on, and that's great. But here's the worrying thing. I said that it was looking like at the earliest we were going to get info on this game in 2024. Well, there was something else that was included in these leaks that might create a pretty substantial delay in the release of this game. In these clips, and the vast majority of them, you could see the source code on the screen. Now, Saib, why don't you tell people what that means for the development of this game for, you know, people like me and a whole bunch of other people that don't really understand how game development works, like how big a deal that is?
Well, assuming that this is in fact their current live iteration project of this, and that it's not a vertical slice from a generalized pitch or something along that line. If this is their current project, there's a high probability that they're going to have to tweak or change a significant amount of that code that was on screen, depending on how and how much of that is like a serious problem. So yeah, that's not good. Basically, when you have your source code showing, if this had any like online capability, some of that might be able to open up other people hacking into your game, hacking into your console, hacking into your computer, other stuff like that. There have been security flaws where somebody's primary computer was hacked via a game client. And so stuff like this is not good. And we can assume wildly here, just wild, crazy speculation. Yes, this game is going to have some kind of online capability. Because,
wait, what? No, get the hell! Like, most lucrative multiplayer in the history of gaming? No, get out of here.
Yeah, right. So we and again, it's like we don't know how much. We obviously don't know if this is, you know, what to what level this is, right? Like, again, it's like they could look at it. They could say, all right, well, we're going to tweak a bunch of this code just by basically swapping out the way that it's perceived, essentially. and by doing so, you can kind of work your way around it, and it's just kind of like an afternoon of annoyance. Or it may be so difficult to change that they might have to like have a serious sit down discussion on whether or not they're going to like retool like a whole bunch of the game so far, and they're going to have to redesign and re-script that stuff. And then they could also just decide we don't care. Like those are basically the three likely possibilities. It's like we know that they're going to eventually like break this code anyways, or eventually they're going to get some kind of stuff into it. Maybe we looked at it and it's not really that problematic. So what, they might learn how to like code or mod the game a little bit sooner than normal. And again, it's like there's a lot of games out there where the ability to mod the game results in a better, more popular product.
Yes.
So and now they have very rarely allowed they are very much anti-modding. Like they really dislike modding for their games.
Mm-hmm.
So that may not be an issue, but it may open an interesting opportunity where perhaps modding for this game is going to be far more popular, and there's not really anything they can do about it, and therefore, and then it actually ends up like making the game more popular, in which they kind of are forced to like step forward and say, I guess allowing players to allowing an infinite number of players essentially to change the game in an infinite number of ways, is actually a good thing, right? Mm-hmm. Because who could have possibly said that at the beginning of Skyrim that one of the more popular mods for the game, as far as the ones on the wacky side, was a Thomas the Tank dragon swap mod? I mean, who knew that that would be a thing, let alone that it would be so dang popular, and that it actually makes the game like it. When you're running around Skyrim and you hear a distant train howl, and you're playing on like a super hard difficulty, like Iron Man, no save, that kind of thing, like that scares the bejeebus out of you. And it's not just like, oh no, there's a dragon coming. It's like, oh no, Thomas the Tank Train is coming and he's gonna kill me. And it's hilarious. So this may end up helping them if, and I do qualify if that's the case. That is highly speculative. I'm just throwing out a thing that is cool and that kind of matters to us here on the channel. Modding is always really important. So we hope that there is no real delay from this, because that would be
crummy.
That would be bad for the players and for the developers, right?
Yeah.
Of course, it would be a little bit bad for the big financier guys and the people who make a ton of money, who couldn't tell you the first thing about the damn game at all in the slightest. Grand Theft Auto, it's an adventure game where a boy is trying to find a sword with a fairy. Sir, that's Zelda. Another great product that we own. We don't own that product. Oh, of course. I mean, the one with the plumbers. We don't own that either. Right. The Thing. Yeah, go buy our stuff. Those fat cats who have nothing to do with the game other than throwing random money at it and have no idea about the game itself. So, which is so weird to me. But at any rate.
Yeah,
it does. It's not good for the fans. It's not good for the developers that this happened. And that's the only person that this guy hurt. Really, he didn't hurt the big company. Like these people eat $20 million $20 million losses. There we go. For breakfast. They don't care, because they know in an afternoon they're going to make 50. So that kind of stuff, it doesn't hurt the high ups. It only hurts the people on the bottom rungs typically, and that really sucks. So I don't know how much of this is going to impact that. There's a couple scenarios. Obviously, like there could be literally nothing that happens from this. Everybody just kind of shrugs their shoulders and goes whatever. There's also the possibility that it might be a massive delay. It could be that it adds 2 years to the release date. So
we'll definitely find out in the next couple of days. I think the nature of this leak is just too big for Rockstar and Take-Two to just ignore it. They're going to have to acknowledge it in some way. There's definitely going to be meetings. Like, we're recording this on Sunday, so there's definitely going to be meetings at Rockstar HQ tomorrow. Before we move on from this, I sort of wanted to ask you for your opinion on one last thing. Leaks, unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you look at it, are commonplace. I would say they are, unfortunate, given what you just said about developers and how they suffer because of it. When I think about all the different leaks that have happened, how big some of them have been, I can't seem to recall one that was bigger than this. The one that immediately springs to mind was The Last of Us 2 leaks that happened a few months before the game came out. How big the story details were that, and how angry people were about the direction the story took. But aside from that, the only thing that I can think of was the PSN hack, but we don't really know the extent of what was leaked from that. We just know it was a big hack. Can you think of anything else besides this side that might top it? It's hard, right?
No, I mean,
like there's
always been big leaks. There was a bunch of like Fallout 4 leaks. There's a bunch of other leaks.
Yeah, the script leaked.
This is probably on the bigger end, but there's not much volume to it. It's like with the Fallout 4 script leak, like that was the whole script leak, and everybody just kind of looked at it, shrugged their shoulders, and said, "Yeah, that's like somebody." Like, I remember looking at it the first time, and it was like, So, like I was like, this reminds me of fan fiction.
Yeah.
And I just kind of like shrugged it off, because at the time I wasn't like I didn't want it to be, so I just kind of like shrugged my shoulder and was like, whatever. But yeah, there are more substantial leaks that have a greater impact on the game and on the community, but in this case, the
we have yet to see.
Yeah, we have yet to see if or how any of this stuff affects it, and then whether or not that's actually going to be an issue, we don't know yet.
Yeah, because even though,
but it's not a huge story leak. There was no this character dies in Act 3. It's like there was none of that. So.
Yeah, that's a great comparison to Fallout 4, because with the scripts, that's the whole game. But with this, we only see like certain elements that we sort of already suspected were going to be happening with GTA 6. We're just actually able to see some of the gameplay. As for the source code, that in itself is big, but we just don't know how big it will be until the next week or two passes by. Question is for you guys. Have you seen the leaks? What do you think about them? Do you have any thoughts? Like, I don't know, are you a programmer? Are you able to make anything out about how big the source leak codes are? Whatever your thoughts are, please leave them down in the comment section below. This is going to be something that we're going to be talking about for the next few weeks. All right. Moving on to what was originally easily going to be the number one thing. It's not we're not going to say a whole lot about it. You can pretty much surmise what my feelings are. So last week we talked about how Tokyo Game Show was coming up. It's like right up there along with E3 and Game Awards in terms of game announcements, the things that gamers look forward to. There was reason to suspect that Konami, they were going to be there and they were going to re-announce Silent Hill. There were some people saying that it might be an announcement of a Metal Gear remaster. But coming close to it, it looked more and more likely that what was going to be announced was something in regards to Suikoden, the JRPG series. Well, it was Suikoden, and tires have been slashed. No, I'm kidding. No, I'm joking. There might be some people that actually think I'm serious. I don't want this video taken down or being prosecuted. Mm-hmm. I would never do that. I was just joking. I am mad, though. I mean, I'm happy for people that love Suikoden. I know some people have asked me to maybe cover it on my channel because of how good the story is. I've never played it. Maybe I'll do that at some point, but yeah, I'm a little bit disappointed, but I'm happy for the people that get the remaster. Hopefully we know that new Silent Hill games are being made. We know it's happening. It's just a matter of when the official announcement is made. Yeah, you know what? That's all I'm going to say.
We
about
hope the ones that are being made will make it to market.
Yeah.
Because there is a little bit of a concern that may not happen. So,
where's this concern coming from?
Don't worry about it. I don't want you to stress anymore on this.
What? No, come on, tell me what's going on.
No, it's fine.
Oh, jeez Louise. Okay, well, yeah, that's pretty much all there is to it. Like aside from that, there was something about Kojima Productions releasing an image on their main website that says "Who am I?" and then apparently it's the face of Elle Fanning, the actress. I don't know if that's in relation to a new game or whatever it is. We still have yet to figure it out. Apparently, it had nothing to do with Tokyo Game Show, but yeah, that was all that came out of that I was excited about. Did you happen to notice anything that stood out to you about Tokyo Game Show? Seb?
No. It was largely fairly dry. In like there was some interesting like smaller projects, stuff like that. But nothing like really like stood out. Like, wow, that's absolutely amazing. We're gonna have like this is gonna be huge. Like either they did not show enough gameplay to satisfy that, or it just didn't translate that well, I guess.
Yeah, it was weird because Tokyo Game Show has been a reliable source for new game announcements and exciting news, but I don't know, just wasn't the case this year. However, there were a couple of showcases that happened this past week that actually gave us some really interesting looks into some new upcoming properties. One of them, well, the two showcases were the Sony State of Play and the Nintendo Direct. I'm going to reference one game from each that stood out to me. I mean, like you can, if there was one that stood out to you, Side, feel free to bring it up. For Sony, there was this little game that they showed called Rise of the Ronin. It's being made by Team Ninja, the same guys that made Dead or Alive and also Neo, and Neo 2, which, by the way, is probably one of the best games that I played in the last 5 years. It looks wonderful. You know, I'm very happy to see that following the success of Ghost of Tsushima, that we're getting a lot more of these open world type games that are set in Japan. We're getting that. We're also getting Wolong Fallen Dynasty, I think it is, which is also coming from Team Ninja. It was also announced that Assassin's Creed is developing a game that's set in Japan. And as for Rise of the Ronin itself, it looks really interesting. It looks like Team Ninja doing their own take on an open world game set in Japan. Now, as for how this game will set itself aside from the Ghosts of Tsushimas or the Assassin's Creeds of the world, I don't know. Maybe they'll sort of adopt the same gameplay style that they've used in Neo, where it's closer to something like Dark Souls. That would be really cool. Maybe sort of like their response to the Elden Rings of the world, but set in Japan. But unfortunately, all we have to go off of is an hour and 30-minute trailer. The game comes in 2024. Saib, did you happen to see this trailer? Does anything else, aside from what I say, stick out to you?
Not really. Again, it's one of these scenarios where it's like, I don't think they showed enough gameplay to like really make a dent on the opinion of it. Because, and again, this is the cynical part of me that's happened for the last, because of the last like 3 years of gaming, 4 years of gaming, has been like, you can't trust any of the gameplay that you see typically. Like, and it was the style in the way that they showed a lot of the gameplay is they didn't say like, here's this world, and then they move around in it. It's all very like cinematographized.
Right.
I know I'm not saying that word right, or if that is even a word, but they've prepared it in such a way that it doesn't encourage trust in the product that they're showcasing. Mm-hmm. And again, I know I've been way more jaded like than I should be about a lot of this stuff, but it's been so much, it's been so often, right? And it's like, well, how do you kind of fix that or come back from that?
Well, the way that I sort of tried to deal with that jadedness, if that's even a word, is by looking to the companies that are making these games. Team Ninja, Have you ever played like Neo or Dead or Alive or any of those games?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
like Dead or Alive was. I mean, it's very good for what it is, and it is a really good, you know. Um, that's I'm thinking of the right one. That's got the multiplayer component, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. No, of
Sure,
course, yeah.
Techno.
Oh, right. And then I mean, I would be very happy to have another a beach volleyball game, you know, because I love beach volleyball. It's an amazing sport. It's really, you know, the athleticism, the you know, the stuff, and Dead or Alive. I heard that they did a version of that a little while ago, and I would really be interested in seeing another one of those at some point in the future. You know,
Mhm.
just for fun. You know,
Just
obviously
for research. Yeah,
for research purposes.
yeah, I I'm purely excited for these games just because of how much I loved playing Neo 2. I haven't played Neo 1, but Neo 2 is such a gem in terms of like extending our collective love for the Soulsborne games. Because, you know, there's a whole bunch of Soulsborne clones that are out there. Steel Rising most recently came out, and that one was okay, but you're going to forget about it in a couple of weeks.
Ash has been playing a lot of that. I think he's got some videos planned for that.
Yeah, I watched my girlfriend play a bit of it, and it's fine. You know, it's got an interesting art style and like setting. You know, being set in sort of like a steampunk version of the French Revolution. But aside from that,
Wait! Steampunk version of French Revolution.
yeah,
Steel Rising.
what?
Oh, I must be thinking of the other Steel Rising set in the seedy underbelly of Chicago strip clubs. All right, okay, never mind.
We're talking about games here, man, not about what you did 2 decades ago. No, I'm just joking. But yeah,
I'm just joking too. It's one of those things. I bugged Ash when he first mentioned that.
oh jeez, is that an actual thing? Don't tell me. Yeah, Neo 2. It's so densely packed with content. The combat is great. If they can take that and put it into something like Rise of the Ronin or Wolong Fallen Dynasty, I don't think they'll do it with Wolong. I don't think that's going to be an open world game. From what I understand, it's sort of going to be like Team Ninja's response to Sekiro, which is great. You know, people love Sekiro. But we'll see. I'm intrigued. The other thing, though, that I continue to eat up, despite the fact that I have never completed a Zelda game, is the sequel to Breath of the Wild, which we now, from this Nintendo Direct, we know what the actual name of the game is going to be. It's called Tears of the Kingdom, and if I recall correctly, it's going to be releasing on May 12th of 2023. The trailer they showed just continue to further highlight the things that I'm most excited about with regards to this game, namely the verticality of it. They seem to be taking what they did with Skyward Sword and allowing there to be a world in the sky and a world down below that you can travel to at will. So, like you actually see in the trailer, you see Link jump off of this floating rock in the sky. It looked like, what is it, Zeal from Chrono Trigger. And he jumps off of it, he falls through the clouds, and you can see the world below. And then at another point, you actually see him fall on top of like a glider, and then you could just fly around the world. This sounds awesome. The thing is, though, I had to find time between now and May to actually play the original Breath of the Wild, which I feel terrible for not having played, given how much everybody loves it.
I mean, if you play Tower Fantasy, Genshin Impact, you basically
Played it?
yeah, you basically played it.
Well, you know, the games that are close to Breath of the Wild that I've played, I really, really enjoyed. And I feel like just based on how much people praise this game compared to all the other Zelda games that are beloved in the Zelda canon, I feel like I owe myself to play just at least a little bit of it before the new one comes out. Because it's like, if this game is as good, I'm talking about Tears of the Kingdom here. If Tears of the Kingdom looks and plays as good as it looks, if I try to play that and then go back to Breath of the Wild, it's going to be quite jarring, right? It's like going from Forbidden West Horizon to Horizon Zero Dawn. It's a little bit more difficult, right? But yeah, I love the trailer. I'm very excited about it. Syb, I don't know, like you just said that thing about Tower Fantasy. Did you watch the trailer? Does it move the needle in terms of your enthusiasm?
I mean, I grew up on Zelda.
Right.
1 and especially 2. Excuse me. Oh crap!
God bless
Sorry,
you.
I couldn't hit the mute button.
It's okay.
My mouse was going everywhere. I couldn't control it.
Must have been powerful if it was, making it impossible for you to move your hand or hit the click button. It's okay though.
So yeah, I grew up on Zelda, like literally Zelda 1, Zelda 2, especially Zelda 2. That was like my mainstay. One of my best memories from my childhood is sitting there watching an older friend, and then my brother, who was older than me. They were trying to figure out how to beat this one portion of Zelda 1. And they had spent over an hour running around the map trying to figure out what this riddle was. Or it was sort of a riddle. They went into this one room, they needed to get past this guy. The only thing the guy would say is he would say grumble, grumble, grumble. And they kept looking through their inventory, trying to figure it out. And I just was sitting there watching them. And they had like gotten to the point where they were like, the game's broken, the game's broken. And I said, why don't you feed him the drumstick? Like, because there was a drumstick. And it looked, they were like, that's a club. And I'm like, no, it looks like a chicken drumstick. And they're like, no, dummy, that's a club. And I'm like, whatever. So they tried it. And sure enough, he ate it and opened the door. And they were like, "Oh my goodness, that's amazing!" And it's like one of the best like moments of like growing up with my brothers and friends and stuff like that I remember from like pre-10, basically. And it was cool, and that's what I loved about the world. So I'm definitely a huge Zelda fan. As far as this game goes, I want there to be. I would really like it if they added some more like versatility to the game. And specifically, I would really like to play Zelda just because the game's named after her and you don't get to play her very often. And she is a really cool character. And I think that opening up some of the side characters is really what they need to do in face of things like Genshin Impact and Tower Fantasy, because and Blue Protocol and all these games that are coming out that have a similar style, a similar aesthetic, a similar look. It's like open up more characters, open up more of that unique gameplay. Like have some of these other characters come with completely different weapons that you've never tried before and that nobody else has tried before, and use that as a way of opening up the world even more. Link, of course, is a central pillar to that. And by adding other characters, you don't make him less of the focus. You just opening up the world more.
It's not either or, it's both and.
Yeah, and there's so many unique, really cool characters that I think people would be far more willing to try and to pick up. And again, it's not about like replacing him. It's not that. It's that I think that with the technology that they have and with the capability that they have, they could probably open up more options for characters and therefore create a larger, more interesting world. And that's kind of like where I'm coming from, because I'm afraid that if they don't, that it's like, oh, plays the same Zelda with the same weapons and the same abilities and the same stuff for the 8th time now. It's like that's cool, but like
at some point you're going to have to evolve it.
Yeah, at some point you're going to have to evolve it just a little bit. I'm not talking about, again, it's like I'm not talking about a replacement. I'm just saying, like, hey, open up more options and evolve your story writing to be broader, to be as good as it has been, but more like options. And you could see where Mario really has excelled in that factor. And they've really taken off in that factor. And there's so many characters playable characters in the Mario universe that are so like key and cool. And I mean, one of the best examples of this is Yoshi. Mm-hmm. It's like Yoshi went from like this weird, this weird like tongue spitting mount to the hero of his own game or her game. I don't know if I think Yoshi is technically male, but I think their species does something weird or different with the eggs. But at any rate, that's besides the point. It's like you can create cool more characters that have a greater impact in the playable world and allow you to affect things and play things and experience things at a deeper level. And that's what I really want, because they do have very stiff competition now. Genshin Impact has started out as a clone of Zelda and has managed to find its own footing. It's a gacha game, so it sucks, right? Same with Tower Fantasy. They started out as a clone of Genshin, and the 2.2 release has come out and really shown that it's become its own thing, and it's become more unique in what it is doing for itself. And that's great. But looking back at the original, so to speak, they have got to learn how to open that world up more, and they've got to learn how to evolve themselves. Otherwise, they risk becoming kind of this like repetitive thing. And I don't think it's repetitive, and I think they're getting better. But there's a lot of options and pathways open, and there's a lot of demand for it. And it's like, experiment with it, because it's not about replacing. It's about showcasing more of the world, and you can do stuff. You do way more stuff with more of those characters in that world. So yeah, that and can you please release your damn games on Steam? Like I mean, seriously, Nintendo. This is another story that kind of happened earlier in the week. Is like, there are people who are begging Nintendo now, with them closing out one of their previous stores, where it's like, hi, I would like to buy this game. I'm sorry, we don't sell this game anymore. Okay, great. Can I buy it for, because you're not selling it for that platform anymore, can I buy it for this new platform that you have? No, we have no plans to release this on our current platform. Okay, can you release it somewhere else? I mean, this isn't like this is impossible to do. I mean, there's emulators out there that do this right now. Can you just let me please give you money to allow me to play this thing that I love? No, we're really not interested in that. And if you mention that, you want to play this, away from our systems, then, we're going to have to come after you with lawyers. It's like, okay.
Yeah. Side.
Aren't you having a cash crunch?
Side, we do this every month.
I know. So dumb.
I know. I agree. But you know what you can do? Well, actually, I won't say it out loud because I am afraid of the lawyers. I'll just re-emphasize the word emulation, and then we'll just move on from that. The question is for you guys, though, what sort of stood out to you from the Nintendo Direct or the State of Play this past week? Was it Rise of the Ronin, Legend of Zelda, or was it something else? Leave us all of your thoughts in the comment section below. We got to move on, though. It's interesting, Side. Any other week, this next story would probably be like at the top of the list, but it's just sometimes it's just there's a huge explosion of news, and it just gets overshadowed. I say this because we're going to be talking about Halo. We're going to be talking about 343, the company that's in charge of Halo. Apparently, the head of 343, the woman that's been at the head of it since its inception back, I think, in 2011, her name's Bonnie Ross. She posted on Twitter a few days ago saying that she was going to be leaving as head of the company to address a family medical issue. However, it seems like despite this medical issue, it's not like it's going to be attended to and then she's going to come back. It seems like she's leaving, period. And this was just the impetus for her to go. And then, maybe it's the type of excuse that like some actors in Hollywood say, like whenever they get refused a role, it's like, oh, there's actually scheduling conflicts, when really it's not scheduling conflicts, it's drama behind the scenes. I don't know if that's what's happening here. All we can say on the one hand is that Bonnie Ross, we wish her well if she is in fact dealing with family medical issues. But on the other hand, this opens up a greater discussion surrounding sort of the state of Halo right now, specifically Halo Infinite. It sort of breaks my heart as a longtime Halo fan, somebody who's been playing it since 2002, to see where Halo is right now. What I see more often now on YouTube is less people talking about their love of the game and more people talking about just their frustration about the lack of content surrounding Halo Infinite. I get it. Even though I enjoy Halo Infinite immensely when I have the time to play it, there is a lack of content. It's kind of abysmal and a joke, the fact that we haven't been able to get co-op, especially split-screen co-op, which we talked about last week, and the fact that Forge, the actual full release of Forge, is still a ways away. I wonder if by having a different lead that things might be able to change for the better, or if things are just at a state at 343 right now where no matter what you do, unless you do a complete overhaul of the staff, then things really aren't going to change for the better. I will say this, though, before I sort of throw this over to Syb and get his opinions. I think, despite all those valid criticisms, I think it is important to take them alongside all the positive things that can be said about Bonnie Ross and 343. Some people might just flippantly say that there aren't any, but, Halo, the Master Chief Collection, even though it released in a poor state, as it is right now, it's a godsend for Halo fans like me. It's all our favorite games in one application. They all have multiplayer functionality. They all have additional aesthetics that weren't there in the original games. Challenges and all that sort of stuff. I love it. I play it every week. And that wouldn't have happened without Bonnie Ross's leadership. Plus, I know it's sort of controversial to say this, but I actually think Halo 4 is a great game. I thought it was a wonderful follow-up to Halo Reach. Halo 5, we don't talk about that. That game really pissed me off. But I honestly thought that Halo 4 was worthy of the campaigns and the multiplayer that came before it. The multiplayer was a little bit of a step down, but it was still Halo multiplayer. It was still enjoyable. Those are the two main things. And because of that, I am less inclined to sort of not say don't let the door hit you on the way out, Bonnie. But I'm going to say just cordially, thank you for your service. And I hope that people will remember you for these good things that you gave us, and that Halo will eventually get into a better state in the future. Syb, all this that I said, do you have any thoughts on it? Any thoughts on maybe where the state of Halo will be now that she's gone?
Again, not to put all the blame on her, but the development of the game, it was hell. They missed a lot of things, and I know scenarios where there's a boss and he's trying to, or she's trying to do the right thing, and however they manage it, they just can't make it work. And sometimes it's just because it's an oil and water situation, and you're just never going to get past that.
Yeah.
You're never going to improve it. You're never going to fix it. It is a constant problem. It will remain as a constant problem for a very, 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 very long time. So what do you do from here? How do you affect things? How do you change things? How do you improve things? I don't know, but maybe starting with some fresh blood and a leadership position, that might help. Or it might make things worse, especially if the problem wasn't her and the problem was some or a lot of the staff. And I've seen that too, where the leader went in a struggling company. Turns out that the leader was the only thing holding it together, and it immediately imploded. Mm-hmm. Because why? Because people couldn't do what was being asked of them, because they and a lot of this comes down to HR. HR hired on the wrong people to begin with at the very get-go.
Yep.
They were looking for, and again, I've seen this. HR was looking for people that fit their perspective of what they wanted to build the community within the company as, instead of people who could actually do their job. And so you had people who were literally doing zero work. And it's like, well, how long do you think that's going to last? When the core of the company is full of people who don't actually do anything. Instead, they just kind of like run around nitpicking and focusing on everything else. Probably not long. You're probably not long for this world. So sad. But yeah, that may be the situation here either way. And the one thing that we can say for sure is that they cannot continue as is, because that has clearly not been
Not working. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes it is just a matter of like throwing spaghetti at the wall. But then again, maybe it's not. We don't know what's going on behind the scenes. We only know that over the last several years, a lot of people have been coming and going in regards to this project. The one sort of constant that seems to have been a boon for Halo Infinite was rehiring Joseph Staten, one of the grizzled ancients from Bungie who worked on the original Halo, to be sort of the creative director for Halo Infinite. I think that helped. But clearly there needs to be more people like him on board directing the project. And I hope that with this change, we can start to get excited for stuff like Forge mode. And holy crap, if Forge is going to actually be what people are making it out on Twitter to be, it could legitimately be game-changing. This could be the thing that brings waves of people back to Halo Infinite. But before that happens, there's going to have to be some serious image changing. And then finally, Side. I've sort of been leading all the topics today. I'm sort of going to be reacting in real time to whatever this Tencent thing is that you wanted to talk about. What's been going on with them? With Tencent? You're muted if you're talking.
So Tencent had this thing. I was sneezing again.
Okay.
If Tencent had this thing called no wait, yeah, it was called Fanbyte, right? Yeah.
Okay.
Fanbyte is basically dead now, and they fired all of them without any notice. This is, I think, a hint that Tencent is having issues, and they're having issues because, again, it's this water and oil situation where there's a group of the leadership that they have to reply to that is saying, I want you to do this. And then there's another group that's saying the opposite, or it is maybe not just the opposite, but it's antithetical to what's actually, the other people actually want. So it's not just that they're getting reverse orders, but still like trying to grow, but in two different directions. It's like the one side is trying to like cut off the other person. The right arm is trying to cut off the left arm. The left arm is trying to cut off the right arm. It's that kind of a scenario. And this is what you get in a system that is the CCP. And this is the outcome that will happen. And I think this is just more signs that Tencent really wants out, but out of China. They really do. They've been moving more and more and more of their stuff out of the country, because we've seen what happens when you get a little too powerful and a little bit too wealthy. Bad things happen. Leadership disappears from companies, and billionaires vanish off the face of the planet. And if they ever come back, like Jack Ma, they're completely different, and they're willing to say whatever their leash holders tell them to say. So this is another sign that gaming is not lost. A lot of people were looking at gaming and going, oh, these mega corporations, they have a stranglehold on gaming. It's like they only have a stranglehold on certain parts of the gaming sector today, and none of those parts are doing well.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing to focus on. It's like none of these companies are doing well. From Kotaku to Polygon to all these other companies, it's like they're not doing great. Like they're either barely treading water or they're sinking, and they're falling apart. They're getting laid off. They're getting destroyed. And it's like, why? Because, well, it turns out you can't control art. And we've said this how many times on the show? You can't control art. If you try to censor art, if you try to control art, it just doesn't work. Why doesn't it work? Because it just doesn't. It's not something that you can control and reliably like say, yes, no, this is our thing. We're going to tell you exactly how to do this. Doesn't work like that. Never has. Probably never ever will.
Yeah.
So
it's like fetch, no matter how many times you try to make it happen, it just doesn't happen.
Yeah,
Did you get that reference? Please tell me you do.
a little bit.
What is it from?
From Garfield.
Oh.
No, I'm just joking.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll explain it to him after, guys. Don't we can't watch every movie in existence. Yeah, just quickly, just in response to that, it's true, man. Like, there are a lot of segments of the gaming industry that aren't doing well because of their attempts to control art and the dissemination of it and what people do with it. Tencent is a great example of it. And just as long as, just even a slightly greater number of the gaming population that develops some awareness of this and doesn't support the companies that have their hands in the pots of these developers or these companies, like, what's the name of the website that just got taken down again?
I believe it's Fanbyte.
Fanbyte, yeah. Just, if they control websites like Fanbyte, I know it sucks to say for the people that actually work on Fanbyte, but sometimes it's like, if it is supporting a company like Tencent, maybe it'd be better to support something else, right? Okay. That was a big episode, really important episode full of really juicy details to talk about. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us for this episode of Maximum News. Make sure you hit that like button, because when you do that, it tells the YouTube algorithm that not only this video is worth watching, but all the other videos on the Triple S Podcast channel. So please do that. Also, like I've been saying throughout the episode, make sure you leave a comment if you have any thoughts on the stuff that Saib and I were talking about. Whether you agree or disagree, we'd love to hear from you. I want to thank Saib, as always, for doing this show with me. Saib, do you want to tell other people about the main channel real quick before we close out?
Yeah, check out the Triple S League. That's the main channel on YouTube. We also have it mirrored to a bunch of other sites. So if you dislike, the one that you're listening on, check out some other ones, because we're probably over there too.
Competition's always good. And you guys can find me just on the various forms of social media, just at Max Derrat. I will put links to my stuff and Saib's stuff in the description box below. Thanks, guys, and until next time, I want to remind you, as always and as per usual, stay yellow.